Hey everybody, it's me, Undead Viking. I want to take a real quick moment of your time today, and I haven't done a role-playing game review in a while, and I apologize for that. I want to do more, it's just time and everything like that. But I am really excited about something that is happening right now. And over at Fraud God Games, they normally have Kickstarters to promote these giant hardcover books, just that are like some of the best RPG books that you can possibly get your hands on. And I've done reviews of other ones in the past. They are finally going to complete what this is. This is the Northlands Saga. Now, this is a long out-of-print series of adventures. They had this idea of many adventures of like basically Viking adventures in the Lost Lands. And if you're not familiar with the Lost Lands, I strongly suggest going to Fraud God Games and looking into it. Lost Lands is a campaign setting that was created by Bill Webb, who is of Necromancer Games fame and also now Fraud God Games fame. And it is his homebrew setting that he's had for decades, and it's just grown ever since he was a teenager, and it's just become this like really just giant monolithic campaign world where great dungeons like the Tomb of Abyssthor are in there. Of course, Rapanathuk, like the world's most deadliest dungeon. And it is a very and more recently, Sword of Air, which is an excellent book, which is something I have been working on a review of that for a long time. I expect to see that theoretically soon. But these adventures. They had this plan to do a large number of them. And they came out with 4, and then it just kind of, for whatever reason, things just didn't get published, things didn't get created, and it just wasn't done. But there was a promise made by Bill Webb to the fans of the series that eventually it was going to get done, and now that moment is upon us. They have a Kickstarter, they are funding, and they're going to come out with a mammoth RPG book. I guess it's going to be close to, if not 1,000 pages thick, of these Viking adventures. And it doesn't necessarily like the players are Vikings. It's the idea that for whatever reason your adventurers end up in the north, and they end up in this area of the world where it is obviously not only are you battling these barbarian groups of Vikings and allying with them as well, but you're also dealing with Viking themed gods and monsters and what have you, and you are going to be up against what you would come to expect from a Fraud God Games adventure. One of those like both really nasty creatures, but also elements of the game that promote like role playing, not ROLL playing, but actual ROLE playing, and actual like immersiveness into the culture. I remember back many years ago, when I played D&D to start with, what we would play with is we would play almost always Norse mythos of gods, just because they were cooler, and like Thor and Odin and Loki. I mean, it was just cooler to play with those than any of the other groups or pantheons of gods. And I remember I really wanted to do a Viking-themed campaign, and I remember I picked up like a D&D source book that was about Vikings, and it was a great source book as far as like historical data, and like I learned a lot of things about the Vikings in general. But as far as an actual like helpfulness of implanting those ideas into a D&D campaign, it wasn't very helpful at all. It was way too real. There was no fantastic edge to it, if you will. What I like about these, and like I apologize, I only have one of these actual like real copies of the game. I don't know where the rest of mine are. They're long since gone. This is over 10 years old, I believe, what I have in my hand. But I have the PDFs, and you can actually go and you can check out the PDFs if you want to purchase them through the Frog Gods website. But the cool thing about these is that it combines like actual like Viking day-to-day life and Viking historical data, if you will, but it also combines like what we love about D&D, you know, giants and dragons and you know, like evil beasties that crawl up from underneath the earth to do battle with your stalwart foes. And I should mention that this game, it isn't just a big slaughter fest. It isn't just a big, like, oh, here's a bunch of, you know, ice orcs or ice trolls that you have to fight and defeat. These are like things where, like, you actually have to go and, like, you know, like this particular mission here, the Death Curse of Sven Oakenfist. The whole idea behind this like part of the campaign is that the players, for whatever reason, are wintering in the holdfast of Sven Oakenfist. I'm sorry, that's the Death Curse of a Jarl, and I apologize, I can't pull his Jarl Anud Curse Spear. And so and I want to give out too many spoilers, but basically the whole premise is that this Jarl, when he was young, killed this mighty warrior. And he swore that, like, with his dying breath, he swore that he would this Jarl would be very powerful and he would have many boons in his life. But after a certain number of years, he would rise from the dead and come back to lay waste to him and all that he held dear. And so, of course, because this is the adventure, while the adventurers are wintering in this holdfast, this undead creature, this like, I forget what they actually call it. It's a special type of monster, and I apologize, I can't call it right off the top of my head. But he comes back and says that he has a certain number of days, you know, prepare yourself because the end is coming. And so the Jarl then, of course, asks any brave person amongst, you know, my guests, you know, will you please undertake this adventure? And of course, you know, the adventurers will then go. And it isn't so much as simple as just going and finding where this undead guy lives. It's researching, why is there a curse? How can we defeat the curse? What do we need to do to defeat the curse? And then they're going to go on a separate adventures that each one, if they succeed, is going to weaken this like basically evil white, or it isn't a white. I apologize. I'm going to look it up right now. Magic of video editing. All right, I was right. It's the white of Sven Oakenfist, but it isn't like a white like you normally think of as far as your what you might be expecting as far as D&D. This is a much more powerful creature, and if you don't complete the adventures before, the players are going to show up to fight this thing, and it's just going to lay waste to them. He's way too powerful. So you have to go on, and these aren't the 3 preceding adventures. You know, aren't, I don't want to give spoilers in case players play this, but they aren't like, oh, go here and collect this trinket and bring it back to me. It's like you go there and there might not even be any combat involved. You just have to, like, undergo a task that is actually going to challenge the players to figure out exactly what they need to do. And it isn't as so much as just running over and you know, putting your battle axe in a giant skull. It's you know, something you actually have to think about and figure out on your own. And that's what I love about these adventures. I love the fact that when, you know, Frog God games and Necromancer games before them, when they put this thing, there was plenty of hack and slash, plenty of things where, like, you know, swinging your sword and getting through hordes of goblins and dragons and minotaurs and what have you. But there was also tricks and traps and research and things like that that made the area of the world come to life. And I wanted for years to have a Northlands saga, a Viking saga that I could put my players through, that I could then, you know, use that information and bring that to life, and then have them live out like that fantastic like idea of adventure that is Norse mythology. I wanted something like that, and finally it looks like I'm finally going to have that. I'm going to have a big giant 1,000-page book that I'm going to be able to use. And it is, and the cool thing about these, and I've said this before, is that, you know, they are for Swords and Wizardry, which is like kind of an old school system, and they are for Pathfinder as well. But it isn't just like for Lost Lands. You can easily transplant this into whatever situation you want to. You can take these individual adventures that, like, and there's 4 right now, I mean, like, that are out there. They do combine and hook together, but you don't have to have them hooked together. You can just take them and use them to put down in place. You can just steal the ideas, just like you can with any other campaign world or anything like that. But trust me when I say that these are some of the best written, best produced, and best made adventures that you'll probably ever play as far as like store-bought things that you can put your players through. So I invite you to go ahead and check out the Frog God Games Kickstarter. If you, like I said, if you are a big RPG nut, if you like Pathfinder, if you like an old school system, it doesn't have to be Swords and Wizardry. You can play, easily transfer this over to Castles and Crusades, or Adventure Conqueror King, or even if you wanted to just go like super old school, and if you're playing like first or second edition D&D, these adventures would easily transport over. The Swords and Wizardry version would easily transport over very, very, very quickly. So go ahead, check that out. Thank you very much for listening to me blather a little bit as far as D&D goes. And like, yeah, I hope you back it just like I have. And so, like, when it finally gets published here very shortly, you too will have a giant, giant book to read through and then submit your hapless adventurers through to try to save the Northlands, if you will. All right. Thanks very much for taking the time to watch this and listen to this. Go check out the Kickstarter, and I'll talk to you soon enough. All right. Bye-bye.